50th Summit, and it's 8th March, International Women's Day. And here with you, Anna Tutova, and our honored guest, Carrie Schwab-Pomerantz, who is the board member of the Charles Schwab's Foundation. And great to have you here, Carrie.
Thank you for having me, Anna.
So, can you tell us, is it your first time here in the UAE, and a very inspiring speech on the charity and philanthropy?
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, I hope I inspire all women to take control of their finances and be involved and learn the basics of personal finance. You know, in the United States, a lot of women abdicate to their partners or their fathers. But it's changing a little bit, but we need to change even more and get more confident with our finances.
Yes, maybe can you hold it a bit closer?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So can you tell us how about your childhood, about your bringing, what your father did teach you? You mentioned a very interesting fact on the panel when you wanted to start investing and asked your father advice. Can you tell us our audience about that?
With my father, who is Charles Schwab, and he is very well known in the United States for starting an investment firm that was to democratize and make investing more accessible. And so you can say that that is very much a part of who I am. And I started working for the company really when it was a startup. I was only 16 years old and worked myself up. I started as a file clerk, and filing papers and whatever, and then learned about investing as well. And I found myself very passionate about taking my father's vision of helping more Americans, but I wanted to help even more Americans, like women, or communities, or people from communities and under-resourced populations. And so when I started working for the Charles Schwab Foundation, which is the company's philanthropic arm, I restructured it so we did focus on financial literacy for all Americans.
Mm-hmm. So why do you see these problems of financial illiteracy in the U.S.? It seems to be like one of the most developed countries.
You would think that we all would know personal finance, basic investing and budgeting and how to use credit cards. Unfortunately, what I've learned from my many years in business and in philanthropy, that the lack of financial education in our country cuts across Americans from all walks of life. It is blind to socioeconomic status, it's blind to gender, it's blind to age. And I think a lot of it has to do with there's been really no formal way for us to learn as a society. And very few very few schools teach personal finance. And it's starting to change state by state. They're starting to require it as a high school requirement to graduate, but it's a very slow process. And in my mind, financial education is one of the great equalizers in our society. And the lack of financial literacy contributes to so many social issues in our country, and people don't even really think about it. But it contributes to wealth or gender inequality. It contributes to the lack of job readiness. You have to have basic personal finance knowledge to be a good worker, and it also affects people going to college. And those are also key to really, having a fulfilling, independent life without financial literacy.
And you mentioned as well that now, for example, cryptocurrency is quite
Yes.
popular. What is your relation to crypto? What's your
I don't have a lot of relationship with crypto, and in fact, Charles Schwab and Company doesn't offer it because it's not regulated. It's not approved by the Securities and Exchange Commission, and until it is, then we will offer it to our investors or our clients. But right now, it's seen as very risky. And a lot of young people, including my own boys, they all want to invest in it, and they do. But they've learned from me over the years that that's not really investing. That is gambling. And it's fine, as long as you know that you could lose your money. Save and invest your real money in what we call mutual funds, exchange-traded funds. They're funds that invest in a little bit of stocks all over the world.
Yeah.
That's how you succeed and over the long term with your money, not individual investments, especially those who aren't even regulated.
But now I think Bitcoin or Ethereum, like the biggest cryptocurrency, should be much safer to invest, especially big institutions are getting in. BlackRock launched their Bitcoin Trust, Goldman Sachs invested in different blockchain-related startups, launched their own crypto custody. Do you have any plans in the future with Charles Schwab Foundation to explore more digital
Yeah, so this is
assets?
the corporation, not the foundation. The foundation is the the philanthropic arm of the company. So the company will definitely create access to crypto when it becomes approved by the government, because there's just no sort of insurance behind it. Not that anything's insured, but until the government really figures out that this is a legitimate investment. Now, cryptocurrency is typically like money, right? It's cash, but there's also more than just cryptocurrency. There's the blockchain technology. That's a little different, and you can invest in that, like a mutual fund that focuses on that. If again, it's been approved by the SEC and it's on the exchanges, you can do that through Schwab. But we know that once it does get approved, what we say is we will offer it in the Schwab way, and the Schwab way is usually it's inexpensive, it's very accessible, and it's something that you can feel good about investing in, and it'll be better than Goldman Sachs or BlackRock or any of those, and you'll be sure of that.
And how do you generally see macroeconomic situation right now? Are we in the bear market? What do you see happening next on all markets?
So nobody knows really exactly what's going to happen. We've been talking about a recession for a long time, right? Are we going to have one or are we not going to have one? Are we in one or are we not? And so to be honest with you, we don't necessarily predict what the macroeconomics are going to look like. We're really a big believer in investing, again, in a diversified portfolio. That means having mutual funds, ETFs in U.S. stocks, in international stocks, having some cash, having some bonds, and then you can ride the market over the long term, because equities are socially engineered to grow. But they're very volatile in the short term, as we're seeing right now. But over the long term, they go up. I mean, equities have outperformed all other investments over the long term. But again, you should never invest in anything when you need the money in less than 5 to 7 years, because then you can lose it, especially like if you needed your money right now and it could be at a loss. So you want to invest for the long term, and over that time, hopefully you'll get a nice return.
Yeah, and what industries do you see the most best performing for now?
I'm sorry?
What industries do you see the best performing to
Oh
invest
gosh,
in right now?
I can't comment on that. Again, that's sort of predicting industries and stuff, and at Schwab we don't necessarily predict any particular industry, and that's why when I talk about diversification, you should have investments in all the different industries, whether it's technology, consumer goods, auto, whatever, everything. And that's really the way to go. And if you want to pick an industry, again, I don't want to equate it to cryptocurrency, but you're taking on a little more gamble by picking specific industries. Like who would have ever thought that technology was going to suffer so much right now? The Amazons and the Apples and so forth. None of us would have predicted that.
It would say it's the same as if you don't need money right now, it's fine to invest in this.
Yeah, and as long as you're holding it for at least 5 to 7 years, because I'm sure those companies will figure themselves out, and they'll continue to grow, because that's their whole purpose, is to grow and to provide more products and services, to their clients.
And what are your thoughts on AI technology? It especially became quite popular with the last year's launch of ChatGPT, and as well, can it help somehow in the financial literacy education?
Yes, as I mentioned, technology is definitely helping, and technology is helping with education in general, where they're making it easier for teachers or educators to teach whatever they may. Could be math or reading, but the same with financial literacy. It's also a great way for young people to get more active in it. There's calculators and spreadsheets and all sorts of things that get them to actually participate and really get involved with personal finance and make it sort of fun, even though it's not a game, but at least it gets them more interested. And in fact, this is with technology now. Many financial institutions, including Schwab, offer what we call fractional shares, where you can buy up to like $5 of a particular investment. Again, Amazon was extremely expensive stock, right? Or Apple. So you can buy, young people or people, can buy $5 in that stock, and they can create their own portfolio. So fractional shares, of course, were enabled by technology, and that's another way for young people.
Already buying a fractional share?
Yes. We, the Charles Schwab, offer fractional shares, and when not young people, but new investors invest in fractional shares, we will give them some education to go along with it as well, so they understand what about investing.
Yeah, that's crucial.
Yeah.
And you mentioned as well that you would leave in summer Charles Schwab Corporation as a board member. On what do you plan to focus on?
Well, it's hard to say. As I mentioned, worked for Charles Schwab since I was 16. I have never not worked. I think I started working when I was, 11 years old.
Wow.
And or maybe 13. I had a paper route. And so going on the corporate board is one of my biggest honors in my life. I have others as well. I was involved with some U.S. presidents, advisory councils, and so forth. So I'm going to take some time when I leave my day job. Well, first of all, I'm going to become a very good board member. And there's a lot of new things I need to learn, regulations and a lot of financial aspects of keeping banks and financial institutions afloat. There's a lot of, risk, cybersecurity, all sorts of interesting things that I'm really digging into. So that's going to be fun. But in my heart and soul, I'm always about helping people gain some financial security in their lives, and that will definitely not go away. And I'm going to be figuring out how I can do that at a different level.
And can you as well give some advices on bringing kids, and what do you teach your kids?
So my kids are probably as old as yours are, but at a young age, we started giving them a small allowance of money, once a week, a couple of dollars, so that they could purchase money themselves. Purchase things that they want and make choices and learn the value of money. And so as they got older and they saved money, we always talked about saving, and they always have. They now automatically do it. They're all good savers. They're all good investors. But so we ingrain that in them. And then when they were about 12 years old and they had some money, I took them to the Charles Schwab office. I made them open up the account, fill out the paperwork, meet the financial consultant, learn about mutual funds and so forth. So really experience it themselves. And now they themselves are pretty comfortable with investing. And it's really about exposing young people, especially daughters.
From which age did you start teaching him?
It really depends. You can go younger, but I went about 12 years old, 6th grade, and they were, the boys, I have 2 boys, and they were very interested in investing right away. My daughter, when she turned 12, she was less interested, so I had to, kind of ease into it. I did take her eventually to go open up her financial account. And I also, by the way, with each young person, my children and other young people, when they get their first real job where they get, the tax forms, and that's usually about 16 years old, I had them open up a retirement account. In the United States, we call it a Roth IRA or an IRA, and they have been saving since they were 16 years old for their retirement, which most young people, that sounds really boring. But again, they know they have to start saving and investing now so that their money can get the compound growth over time and have a snowball effect in terms of creating a nice nest egg for themselves later in life.
Yeah, that's important
Yeah,
skill
yeah.
to teach. And as well, thank you a lot for the support of Ukraine. And you mentioned that
Oh,
some of the friends of your family are in the military. So can you comment? What do you think? What does Ukraine need to win the war?
oh gosh, you have so much support from all of us in the United States, and it just breaks our heart to see what you're going through. And I know some of your fellow citizens have come to the United States, and I know personally, send money to different organizations for humanitarian help, including CARE. I don't know if you know CARE. It's a big international relief agency, and I know the CEO there, so I try to help, and we all try to help. And my husband sent money over to the family to help them when they had to flee the country and find the mom with her 2 kids had to find some safe place, so we help them with their finances a little bit.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
a lot for the
yeah,
support of my country.
yeah,
And thank you a lot for sharing your expertise and giving some advices.
yeah.
Thank you for the interview.
Oh, absolutely, my pleasure. Nice to meet you, Anna.
Nice meeting you too.